Imagine my anger when I get emails from companies saying that I don't meet the minimum requirements for the job. Hold on. The minimum requirements are a high school diploma. I almost have 4 degrees on my hand. I also have crazy experience working for the military, working for the U.S. government. So what's going on? What's going on is you white people, need to get your guilt, hatred, I don't know how you say it. You all need to get your stuff together. My legal name, my full legal name, literally makes me sound like an Irish person. So on paper, I look like a straight white man. So when they get these applications from me, and invariably the names on these emails that I'm getting rejecting me are from straight white females, or maybe they're not straight, but they're from HR. HRs are mainly dominated by white women, and white women are against white men. So on paper, I look like a straight white man. Hold on, it gets worse. We received your application. Could you call us for a preliminary interview over the phone? Okay, here's where the prejudice against straight white men doubles down. Why? Because when I call, I say, hello, this is Bartholomew St. James IV. You all asked that I call you for a preliminary interview, and they hear straight white man because I, quote unquote, sound white. But don't worry, it gets worse. If I go in person, they've looked at my resume, they've seen my education, my experience, and they've almost hired me. And I say, come in and fill out the final paper. And I walk through the door. I have literally gotten, oh, I'm sorry, that position is filled. The position is filled? It's been 15 minutes and you told me to come down to sign the final paperwork. Yes, these things happen. Sorry, we filled all those positions. What's going on there? Big, tall, 6'3" black dude walks through the door and the position is suddenly filled. The United States really needs to get its act together. You hate white men. You hate black men. I'm sorry to say this, but women, you're only working to fulfill the role of consumer. You serve no other purpose. There is absolutely no need for you to work at all. The entire country was working fine for almost 200 years without women working. You do realize that, right? You're working so that the corporations can have a consumer base that is out of control. On paper, women outspend men by a factor of almost 100%. Women almost spend their entire paycheck. When they say stuff like, Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, if you removed women off of that stat, I bet you would have a case of Americans actually save money. Actually, I don't know the data, but I know that women consume way more. How do I know this? Because retail has told me this. Retail goes in and out of business based on women's shopping habits. In and out of business. Shops that cater to men have had to reverse and cater to women. Buy completely woman stuff at the whole 9 yards. Suits, pants, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Overcoats, no. Dresses, panties, what have you. I've seen it. I used to live next to a mall. I've seen this cycle over and over and over and over. We can't survive without catering to women because women consume on a whole other level than men. Men buy really big things. Men will buy a big truck. Men will buy refrigerators. Men will buy the washing machine. Men will buy the sit-down lawnmowers. But a woman will buy socks, underwear, what have you, every week. It will literally keep the lights on for a store. I know I come across as sounding very brutal, but I'm just being factual. Women are consumers. That's your role. You thought your role was to be a mother? to be a wife? No. Your new role is you're a consumer. That's your new role. And a lot of you have literally shirked the entire thing of mother-wife. Completely done away with it. 50% of women will never be married. 35 years old and under. 50% will never be married. We went from everybody was married. It would be weird if you were not married back in the day before I was born. It would be, first of all, it would be unheard of. What do? You go to school, go to high school, get your diploma, get married, have your children. Now they say stuff like, not everybody's cut out to be married. Actually, everybody's cut out to be married because it's not the big deal that you think it is, but they've made it and trained you to believe that it is, and so it is. And we come full circle to straight white men. Who are you not marrying? You're not marrying straight white men. The country is majority white. So who are you not marrying? Straight white men. And you're made to hate straight white men. Or, I'm sorry, you're made to pay lip service to hate straight white men. But around 10 o'clock at night, you're with straight white men. But you don't want to hire straight white men because they're privileged. I'm not applying for CEO. I'm applying now for cashier. Why am I applying for cashier with all these degrees and all these accolades? Because I don't have money. And yet, and still, I'm not being hired. You don't meet the minimum qualification. Sorry? You could have said anything else, and you chose to say the most ridiculous thing. My education thing is as big as my experience. So the minimum requirement, have a smile, be a team player. A lot of these applications now have you do an assessment before you even get to the resume part, experience part. And I passed that with flying colors. Will you show up on time? Yes. Okay. You've been accepted to apply to our company. Okay. You don't meet the minimum requirements. Bartholomew St. James III. How's your father, Johnny, and your grandfather, Biff, or Jethro, or whatever name they would hate? I'm actually not into the racial thing. I have no idea. Literally, I've sat with a person when I was in New York. New York apparently has this all down pat. Oh, that means it's a person who grew up in Vietnam. Oh, that means it's a person who grew up in Cambodia. Oh, that means it's a person who is Japanese. Oh, that means it's a person who's East German. What? Do you have a word for that? Why? How deep is your discrimination? So, here's my plea. White women, please stop your hatred for a white man. I'm not a white man, but your hatred for white men impacts me because you believe I am a white man and you take your hatred out on me. Please stop. I'm begging you. And no, you can't sue for discrimination because you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's not beyond a shadow of a doubt, but you have to prove that they intentionally went through the thought process of discriminating against you, and that is hard to do without you recording it somehow, of them making the evil guy monologue. Oh my God, we have this application right here, and this person sounds obviously like a straight white man. We hate straight white men. Make sure you deny that application. That's probably never going to happen. You will probably never, unless you go to like one of those women marches where they're wearing the pink hats. You're never going to get a woman saying that. So you'll never win a discrimination case unless it's just something so blatant. Like all of the black employees were never given raises, were never promoted, but all the white employees. And actually, I did work for a company that was that blatant. Corporate had to come down to the company and say, okay, you need to promote this black employee who's worked here for 5 years, has all the qualifications and experience to be a manager, and has met all of the metrics and passed everything with flying colors, but you've never given him a raise. You've never promoted him because he's a black man. And we notice that all of your other managers are all straight white women. Seems suspicious when you have 1,000 employees that you would only promote straight white women. That seems suspicious. So corporate came down from New York or somewhere to promote one black man. So then it was one black man and 15 straight white women. No straight white men. They could only tackle one battle at a time. And of course, HR was filled with straight white women. I read a story about HR, and it was a company. It was a sales company. Sales. So sales is filled with very hyper aggressive people. That makes a good salesman because the salesman has to overcome rejection all day long, right? You everybody's on board with this? So there was a company, sales company, and it was all men. It was all men, and it's hyper aggressive all men, right? They hired a woman. Notice they didn't have any of this stuff beforehand, right? They hired a woman, and the woman started complaining. And they were told, of course, you have a company, and your company operates how it operates until such time as stuff is brought to the attention of the state and local government, city government, or whoever, right? The company was not fulfilling any of the regulations. So they did not have an HR. They didn't have an HR, and they didn't have an employee handbook at all. Didn't have it. Just didn't have it. They would hire a guy. He would work. He would fit in. Boom. There you go. And there's the environment. The woman complained that the environment was very male, very masculine, and they made terrible jokes and blah, blah, blah. So then they had to get an HR. They had to get an employee manual, an employee handbook, and she completely destroyed the entire atmosphere. And of course, the company then went under because the salespeople quit. They went and worked somewhere else. That is not a good thing. Salespeople are necessary to sell you stuff. All of the little plastic that women buy, a salesman had to make somebody purchase it from somewhere. So a salesman had to say, "Hi, we hear you want to purchase 1 metric ton of plastic bowls. I can get you a metric ton of plastic bowls at half the price that you are buying it at currently." That is the job of the salesperson. So don't say you don't need salespeople. You need salespeople. We hear you want to buy a car. I have a car, and I can get you a car. That's a salesperson. We hear your country's been invaded by another country, and you need military equipment. I can get you military equipment. That's a salesman. Believe it or not. So yes, you need salesmen. So an entire company filled with salesmen going out of business is actually bad for the economy. So now these 1,000 men no longer have a job. They're no longer paying taxes, and they're no longer contributing to the economy. It's a bad thing. Men under 35 have a 50% unemployment rate to women under 35. That is not a coincidence. This whole idea that men would make more, actually women under 35 make more than their male counterparts. And it's been that way for some time. It's been that way for the past 20 years. So this whole gender pay gaps thing is crazy wrong. And although women are strutting around saying that they're getting the bag and they're a boss babe and all this sort of stuff, they still want men to be in traditional gender roles, which means that the man is providing and man is paying for everything. Those days are completely over. I'm here to tell you, because the man paying for everything was when women didn't make any money at all. So no, you can't have reverse the time period back to the 1920s. Those days are completely over. They're gone. Poof. No, men should not pay for dinner or dancing and all. Men shouldn't pay at all. Those days are over. More than likely, men under 35, you are more than likely going to run into an unemployed man. Unemployed, not working, no income. And they don't really care because men don't buy stuff like women buy stuff. So it's a catch-22. We always want to hire a woman first. And now we don't want to hire straight white men. And Shakaama, we don't know that you're not a straight white man, but on paper you look like a straight white man, so we are not going to hire you.